الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صفيه من خلقه وخليله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. Here we are talking about the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, or Isa ibn Maryam. And you all know that Isa ibn Maryam was one of Ulul Azm, one of those strong-willed prophets. And she, meaning Maryam alayha ridwanullah, she was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a righteous woman. She was muttaqiyah. She was a person who was conscious and pious and aware of her Lord. And she was devout to her Lord in worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose that she would bear a child, she would have a child without that child having a father. But before that, Allah gave her some signs and gave the people around her some signs of her piety. Allah said in Surah Al-Imran, كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابِ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. Every time Zechariah, which was Zechariah, the prophet, every time he went to her chamber, he found that she had provisions, food. Excuse me. And what were these provisions? Scholars differ, but these provisions are food that are not usually found at that time of the year. Not usually found at that time of the year. Of course, now we have Kroger and Walmart, stuff like that. For the most part, you can get all types of fruits at all times of the year. But in their time, it was unlikely, it was unusual that you have grapes in the winter, right? Or watermelons, for that matter, or strawberries. So he found this, he saw her with these beautiful fruits and things, and outside of their season. So he asked her, how did you get this? And she said, this is from Allah. These things came from Allah. And Allah provides. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. When He provides whomever He wants with no account. Meaning He provides people with generosity. Generously, when He provides generously with no account. So those were some of the signs of the piety of Maryam. Thereafter, the angels called out to Maryam saying, Ya Maryam, O Maryam, Inna Allah astafaki wa tahharaki wa astafaki ala nisa'il alameen. Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you over the rest of the world, over the rest of the women of this world. So she was chosen because of her faith in Allah, because of her prayer, because of her fasting, because of how she spoke and what she said, because of how she behaved, and her belief and her trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For these reasons, she was chosen. And in the same way, in the same token, you and I can be chosen by Allah to be His specific slaves, to be His diligent servants that serve Him and love Him and sacrifice for this deen. You and I can be chosen for that. Right? We just have to try our best to be good people, be wonderful Muslims. Now, Jesus, how did he come about? Before we talk about how he came about, we will talk about the hadith of Anas bin Malik that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "It is enough for you to know the virtue of 4 women of this world. If you know about Maryam bint Imran, Asiya, the wife of the Pharaoh, Khadija bint Khuwaylid, and Fatima bint Muhammad. It's enough for you to know the virtue of these women." Sallallahu alayhi, he said, it's enough for you to know about the virtue of these 4 women. If you know their virtue over the rest of the women, then you know their virtue. Right? Now, when Allah wants something to happen, how does He bring it about? How does God or Allah bring something about that He wants to happen? Kun fayakun. Be, and it is. Simple as that, right? He commands that thing to become, and it comes into existence. Okay? We can't do that, right? We can't. We're not allowed. We don't have the power of creation. So these angels spoke to Maryam and gave her these glad tidings. In fact, Jibreel came to her in the form of a man. So she said, "Inni a'udhu bil-Rahmani minka in kunta taqiyya." I seek the refuge of Ar-Rahman from you if you indeed fear him. قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا. I am a messenger from your Lord. I'm going to bring you a virtuous child, a righteous, a pure child. قالت أن يكون لي غلام. How is it possible that I can have a child? ولم يمسسني بشر. I have not been touched by a man. ولم أكو بغيا. And I'm not unchaste. I don't mess around. I don't sleep around. It gives us the... Do you have heavy? No. It gives us the opportunity to know that from the actions of righteous people is that they're chaste. Is that they protect their privates. They protect themselves from indecency, from using them inappropriately. And the only appropriate way to use or to have one's chastity is, or only appropriate way to be active with that passion is through marriage, no other way. So Allah Jalla Ala told Maryam that it's very easy for Allah to do that. Isn't it easy? Think about it. Allah created the heavens and the earth. وَلَمْ يَعْيَ بِخَلْقِهِنَّ. He did not become tired or exhausted by creating the heavens and the earth. Did we realize that? Allah said that He didn't become tired or exhausted. وَلَمْ يَعْيَ بِخَلْقِهِنَّ. He never became exhausted by creating the heavens and earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. He does not become exhausted by preserving and securing the heavens and the earth. He does not become exhausted by securing the heavens and the earth. So this Creator is not exhausted at all from creating everything. So how easy would it be to provide a woman, Maryam, a child without a father? Easy. Just as it was easy for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to create man with no blueprint, with no precedent, with no successor, with no one who came before Him to show Him how to do it, Jalla wa Ala. So Allah Jalla wa Ala created Adam without male or female. Right? And He created Hawa, the wife of Adam, without a female, but with a male. Yani Allah created Hawa from his rib, the rib of Adam. Allah created Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam, from a female without a male, which is Maryam, without a father. And He created the rest of mankind from both male and female. So Allah showed us that He can create with nothing at all. He can create with male and female. out of a male and female. He can create out of a male, and He can create out of a female by herself. It's easier for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How did she become pregnant? The narrations say that Ruhullah, which is the spirit of Allah, or spirit created by Allah Jalla ala Jibreel, He breathed into the shirt of Maryam. Some say the sleeve or the pocket of Maryam. He breathed into it and she conceived a baby. Now, she went through pregnancy, real pregnancy. Just before, she was provided with fruits out of season. But she had to bear the pains of childbirth. In fact, those pains drove her to a palm tree. And she said, I wish I would just have died before this. And I wish I would have become forgotten about. That no one would even remember me. Because of the difficulties of the pain of childbirth and the difficulty that she is going to face when she meets her people, not having had been married before. So you all know that's deep. You're coming from a far distant place, you got a baby in your hand, and you're not married. It's very scary. And she was afraid of that. She said, I wish I would have just died before this. However, فَنَادَاهَا مِنْ تَحْتِهَا. He, meaning Jesus, called out to her, or Jibreel called out to her from below her, do not be worried. Do not be worried. قَدْ جَعَلَ رَبُّكِ تَحْتَكِ سَرِيًّا. Allah has placed a river beneath you. But you have to pull that palm tree. You got to pull that trunk to get these fresh dates. Before, she was provided with no effort. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding her here to put in effort. And she did so. So when she finally came to her people, they said, Maryam, what have you come with? You've done an enormous crime. Your father was not an evil man. And your mother was not unchaste. Literally, she was not a prostitute. That's what Baghi means. She was not a woman who went around sleeping with other people. So where did you get this from? This lets you know that the parents, as the models of the children, play such a huge role in their lives. That if the parents are upright and they raise their child to be upright, then the child should be upright. Should be. And if the parents are foul, with ill manners and disrespect, that's exactly what they're going to produce. A child who is foul with ill manners and disrespect. You see? Because they said, your mother was not unchaste and your father was not an evil man. So what business do you have coming back with a baby? So he spoke in the cradle. Who? Isa ibn Maryam. She pointed to him. They said, now you want us to speak to a baby in the cradle? How are we going to speak to a baby in the cradle? So then he called out, قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. He said, I am the servant of God. آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابَ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. He gave me legislation, the book, and He made me a prophet. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ. And I'm a blessed individual wherever I am. وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. And He gave me the responsibility of prayer and charity as long as I live. وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي. And I am dutiful to my mother. وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْنِي جَبَّارًا شَقِيًّا. And He did not make me Jabbar Shaqi. He did not make me a tyrant and a wretched individual. This lets you know that the child should be dutiful to the parents. And the child should not be a means or reason for the stress of their parents. A lot of times we see our kids today, and I've seen it mostly in the, excuse me what I'm about to say. I see it mostly in the immigrant community. Things that kids say to their parents, I would not even think about saying to my mother. Like the word what. Now I understand English might be your second language. right? Or third. But don't ever let your child say what to you. That's disrespectful. In American culture, that's disrespectful. And these brothers know better than I do. See these brothers, senior brothers here? They know better than me. You don't ever say, I never say what to my mother. Oh, I might as well play dead if I say what to my mother. And various other offenses that I would never say or do to my mother. But I see our Muslim kids raising their voice, talking to their parents from a distance. Never talk to my mother from a distance. If I have something to say to her, if I'm in her presence, I go to her and I say it to her and I listen to her. Various things that we don't find in our Muslim youth today. Our parents, unfortunately, are not teaching this to our kids. And this is one of the aspects of Isa ibn Maryam, is that he would never be tyrannical, he would never be treacherous, he would never raise his voice at his mother. He would be dutiful and kind to his mother. So let's capture that, brothers. Let's capture it. And if you have a problem with teaching that to your kid, bring them to me, inshallah. And I have no problem, I will teach it to them. I'll teach them how to behave and how to, inshallah, how to address their parents in a proper way. Bring them here, inshallah. That's what the masajid are for. Allah said, ذَلِكَ عِيسَى ibn Maryam. That is Jesus, the son of Mary. قَوْلَ الْحَقِّ الَّذِي فِيهِ يَمْتَرُونَ. That is the statement of truth that they are differing about, meaning the Jews and the Christians. مَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ أَن يَتَّخِذَ مِنْ وَلَدٍ. It is never befitting that Allah would ever take a child. Subhanah. He is far removed and far above any defect. Having a child is a defect. Having a child is a defect, especially in regards to Allah. It's a completion in regards to us. We need to have children. Because if we don't have children, who's going to inherit the legacy of the world? And who's going to live here and populate this place? But Allah doesn't need an heir. Heir to a throne is usually when the king is going to die. Correct? Does Allah die? Does he die? Absolutely not. So that he doesn't need a prince. You understand? To take over after him. He doesn't need it. He doesn't die. And he doesn't have a need for a child. He created having children. The concept of having a child by itself is created by Allah. Before Allah created people or beings to have children, no one ever had a child. Because nothing was in existence beside Allah. Why would he then need a child? And this concept, this reality, is what got me to Islam. When I was 12 years old. When I thought about it, I thought that, it's impossible that God would need a child or whatsoever. And somebody would say, well, he doesn't need children, but he took Jesus as a child. But we already understand, a child understands that there is a deficiency if we make God have a child. I was a child and I understood that. With no prior training, with no seminaries, with no lectures, I understood at 12 years old that it is not right, it does not work, it does not make sense that God has children. But of course someone after that with teaching and training would come maybe believing in that and say that yes, he should have children, but I think it is a part of the fitrah, it is a part of the natural inclination of the human being that we refuse these concepts. So go on, you all know that Isa ibn Maryam performed miracles, but just because he performed miracles and he was born without a father and he spoke in a cradle, that does not mean he's God. Our brothers know here, ask them. Our brothers here, these three brothers, beautiful brothers who came from Masjid Umar, ask them, they know because they came from Christianity, as I came from Christianity. The Christians will come to you and say, he spoke in a cradle, he must be God. He was born without a father, he must be God. He did miracles like bringing the dead out from the grave and curing the blind and curing the leper and curing the person who cannot walk. He must be God. No. None of these things necessitate that he's God. He was given miracles by the power of God, by the will of God. It's easy. It's simpler to understand that. So you mean every prophet that did miracles, now he's God because he does miracles? That doesn't make sense. You have to either apply it across the board to every prophet and say that all of the prophets are God, or you have to say Jesus is just a prophet. So him being born without a father does not make him God, period, because God is not born. Right? And Allah said about Jesus and Mary, كَانَا يَأْكُلَانِ الطَّعَامِ. They used to eat food. They used to eat food. Now Allah is very beautiful when He speaks, just as He's beautiful, Jalla wa Ala, and everything about Him is beautiful. When He speaks in the Quran, He said, كَانَ يَأْكُلَانِ الطَّعَامِ. They used to eat food. انظر كيف نبين لهم الآيات. Look how we clarify the signs for them. ثم انظر ثم انظر أن يصرفون وأن يؤفكون كما قال Allah. Then look at how deluded they are. I'm clarifying the signs for them. I'm making it clear for them to understand. He didn't explain what happens after they eat, because you and I know what happens after you eat. Can you imagine? Do you know what happens after you eat? You gotta go to the bathroom. Do you think God goes to the bathroom? Are you kidding me? Okay, you can say He eats if you want. You can say for argument's sake, Jesus, God is Jesus. That's Allah, right? Let's make an argument. So Jesus, He slept, He cried, He laughed, right? He did. He ate. Then He went to the bathroom. And He's God. Are you kidding me? This is what Allah is saying. Look at, I'm clarifying the signs for you. You can see it. And then look how deluded people are. Look how astray they are, in spite of me clarifying things to them. So that's Jesus in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of material for us to research. However, some of this or most of this we will leave to get to the main points that we'll be able to get to in the rest of the time. They did not kill Him. They did not kill Him. Allah said, وَإِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى. When Allah said, "Oh Jesus, إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ." I am going to cause you to sleep and bring you to me. وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And I will purify you from the claims of those who disbelieve. وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. And I will make those who follow you to be superior over those who disbelieve and reject until the day of judgment. So who follows Jesus? The Christians or the Muslims? The Muslims. So therefore, by virtue of this verse, Allah made us over those who disbelieve. And He said, until the day of judgment. Yes, it might seem like to you and me, in fact, that we are defeated on many fronts. But don't we still have the Quran? Well, guess what? We're not defeated then. Don't we have still the Sahih Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Then we're not defeated. And can anyone come to you and snatch La ilaha illallah out of your chest? Absolutely not. And that is the most valuable thing that you and I own. And that's the most valuable thing that we've ever said. So guess what? Until the day of judgment, as long as you and I remain upon that, no one will be above us. No matter what means they have. I want you to believe in that. They did not kill Him. Allah said, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. They did not kill Him, nor did they crucify Him. He was not put on the cross. This is Jesus. And He was not killed. But it was made to appear so to them. It was made to appear so. They did crucify somebody. And they did kill somebody on that cross. But it was not Jesus. One time a Christian came to me and he had been studying Islam. Unfortunately, I find that some Christians study Islam more than Muslims do. What's up with that? What's up with that, really? I mean, did somebody, every time you go to open the Quran, somebody got a knife to your throat and say, don't open this Quran? Every time you go to open a hadith or look for something about deen, somebody says that if you do that, I'm going to set your refrigerator on fire? Or I'm going to take your Xbox and your PlayStation. As soon as you open that Quran, I promise you I'm going to break it. Did anybody threaten you like that? No. So what's keeping you and I from studying the deen? What's keeping us? Shaitan? No. Shaitan is not keeping you from studying the deen. Because you are stronger than Satan. Satan only suggests. He does not force you. He can only suggest to you and suggest to me. And then it's our decision to do what? Listen and obey him, or disobey him and ignore him. It's our decision. He only can suggest. Meaning he says to you, Ahmed, you should not read the Quran. Ahmed, listen, go and watch that movie over there, the one that your mom bought for you. And go play the game, right? Why is your mom always getting on your nerves? Tell her about that. Say something smart to her. That's all he's doing, is suggesting. And then you go and I go and we do. طيب. So, you are stronger than the devil himself. And all he does is suggest. So what is keeping you and me from studying the deen? This man studied the deen and he said, I found in the Quran that the Quran says Jesus died. We say, what verse? This is important also for people who memorize the Quran to understand it. Because if it wasn't for me going and learning Arabic, I would have memorized the verse but not been able to cite it when he gave me this doubt. He said, the Quran says that I'm tawaffi, inni mutawaffika. He memorized even portion of the Arabic. And he was a white American guy. But he memorized tawaffi, tawaffa. He said this verse. And I said, oh, you mean inni mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayhi. He said, yeah, that verse. Then isn't it tawaffa means death? And he knows where he's going with this. Tawaffa can be used to mean death. But you have to have the Quran to back up the Quran. Doesn't Allah say, and I told him then, I said, didn't you know Allah also said, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. Most of our Arab brothers, are you able to cite that verse? I have a question. Are you able to cite that verse? So when your child is given that doubt, the shak, and then you say, don't you know Arabic? Don't you know something? He says, yeah, I know Arabic. My mom speaks Arabic. You know tawaffi? And tawaffa means death. Oh, okay, yeah. Here it is in the Quran. See? God says that Jesus died. And if you, the Arab parent, or the Indo-Pak parent, don't know the reference when Allah said that tawaffi is two types. Either the people when they die, and those who do not die when they are asleep. In the Quran, Allah said, فَيُمْسِكُ الَّتِي قَضَى عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. Allah will keep the soul that He has permitted to die, and He will send the other soul back, meaning to earth. He will send the other soul back to you and wake you up from your sleep. So it's not the alarm clock that gets you up. It is not your wife that gets you up. It is not your kids waking up really early talking about they want cookies and milk that gets you up. It is Allah returning your soul at that moment. If Allah does not return your soul to my soul and He keeps it, that's death. We're dead. And I gave him that explanation. Then he asked me, he said, so are you saying, he said, I understand what you're saying. So are you saying that a Muslim, a common Muslim who doesn't know that, will be confused and maybe tripped up if that is brought to their attention? I said, yes. The common Muslim who doesn't know these things and has not studied and doesn't care to sit in a class or two to learn these things, when a person comes with this doubt, they're going to go with them. Say, you're right. And what does the Dajjal come to you with? Doubts, confusion, suspicion. And he makes you question God. And he makes you say, well, this must be God because He's able to do this and do this and do this. So think about it. Be very aware of doubts. And empower yourself. Arm yourself with this deen and understanding of it. And this is just a small effort to help let everybody know that everyone can do this. Everyone can learn. Everyone can understand. And there's no block on this. There's no special privilege that I have. I have 2 ears, 2 eyes, a brain, alhamdulillah, and a body that is functional. You have the same thing. So you can do the same thing that I'm doing. Study the deen and understand it and explain it. And spread it, of course, to others. May Allah make it easy for us. And there are various evidences that Isa ibn Maryam will come. Allah said that وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. He is a sign of the hereafter, of the day of judgment. And many scholars, there is no difference about this between the scholars of Al-Islam. The only ones who differ about these issues are the subgroups, the groups that are not quite, they're like semi-Islam. They deny these concepts. And some others that are a part of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they were affected by other modernist views and science and so forth and so on, that they started to deny these realities. But Jesus will return. Hudhayfa ibn Usayd said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at us while we were talking, and he asked, "What are you talking about?" And we said, "We are talking about the hour." He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "It will never come until you see 10 signs." And he mentioned the smoke, the Dajjal, the beast, the rising of the sun from its place of setting, the descent of Isa ibn Maryam, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and 3 landslides. One in the east, one in the west, and one in the Arabian Peninsula. The last sign will be a fire that will emerge from Yemen and drive people towards their place of gathering. Abu Hurairah narrated, the Prophet ﷺ said, "By the one in whose hand my soul is, the son of Maryam will soon descend among you as a just ruler." A just ruler. Very important. A just ruler or a just judge. That when you rule or when you decide, you and I should decide with justice. He will break the cross. He will kill the pigs. And he will consider jizya, which is the tax that non-Muslims pay in Muslims' land to secure their security. I mean, they pay taxes like we pay taxes here in America. You got to pay taxes on your food and your clothing and every other thing. You purchase a vehicle, you got to pay taxes. And then, of course, you have income tax and so on and so forth. But there's a jizya, is a tax that non-Muslims pay. So in the Muslim lands, what taxes do Muslims pay that are automatic taxes? Zakat. So in place of zakat for the non-Muslim, they don't pay zakat, but they pay jizya. But Isa ibn Maryam will consider this unacceptable. Jizya will be unacceptable anymore. Why will he break the cross? Tell me. Why do you think Jesus will break the cross?
Because he came back.
Because he came back. That's one answer.
To denounce Christianity.
To denounce Christianity. Beautiful. So not anybody else? More?
To denounce crucifixion.
To denounce the crucifixion. To deny the crucifixion. More?
False.
Nah. Any more? All of those answers. And also, in addition to that, the cross is worshipped, isn't it? The cross is worshipped. Who worships the cross? Christians. They worship it. That is an object of worship. Either you got Jesus, a statue of Jesus on it, hanging down from it, or it's just there. They take it, they hang it around their necks as a necklace. That's an idol that they're hanging on their chest. But unfortunately, you see some Muslims doing a similar thing. Hand of Fatima. Take one hand of Fatima, put it on their neck, supposedly. And other various ta'weeds and different things, of amulets and things that we're not allowed to use in Islam at all whatsoever. You take Quran and you put it on your chest, guess what? The Quran has not been made for that. It has not been revealed to protect you from the evil eye and the shayateen. Not like that. If you want to be protected from the evil eye and shayateen, read Ayatul Kursi. Read the 3 quotes, right? Read the last 2 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah and other ways that Rasulullah told us, practical ways to be safe. So he will break the cross, he will kill the pig. What's wrong with the pig? It's just an animal. What's wrong with it? Tell me, son. Okay, touch it? I don't know. Touch it. I don't know if we can touch it or not. I don't think that's a big deal. We're not supposed to eat it. It's a filthy animal, honestly. It's filthy. Yes, ma'am?
It's dirty.
It's dirty, that's right. It's a dirty animal. It eats dead bodies even. It eats anything. It eats its own urine and poop. It eats it, no problem. And you can even look on YouTube at how filthy pigs are. Pigs are filthy. And they carry so many diseases. But they're here for a reason. They clean up that eating, that's like a natural garbage disposal. They go and eat everything. So they don't think that they're there for no reason. And you say, well, why we can't eat pigs? Well, we can't eat mosquitoes either. You know what I mean? We can't eat dogs. We can't eat lions. So a few other things that we can't eat because Allah said don't eat it. Do we have a decision in the matter or does Allah decide? Allah decides, right? So if you want to argue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think their argument is acceptable? Absolutely not, right? We should listen. That's what Muslim is. Muslim is one who has submitted. Submitted. Not to a person, not to a place, but to the maker of every person and every place. To the creator of time and space itself. We submit to him. What he says, goes. What he says, goes. Period. Of course, in Judaism and Christianity, pigs are also you're not allowed to eat pigs in Judaism. Christianity also, you're not allowed to eat pigs. But they eat it anyway. Jabir said, radiyallahu anhu, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Isa ibn Maryam will come. Let me read you this narration actually. There is a narration that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said the call will be one, meaning the invitation will be one invitation. There's going to be an invitation to Islam. All of the rest of the religions will be abandoned. People will abandon every other religion. And the invitation will be one invitation to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So our invitation today, should it be to a particular political group in Islam? Should our invitation be to a particular cultural interpretation of Islam? Oh, because we're from a certain part of the world, we're inviting to that version of Islam? Should it be? Because I don't know, because a lot of people are confused about that. Most of the invitation to Islam that I see today is an invitation to a group of people, a particular group, who just happen to get everything right and understand the whole of the deen better than anyone else. And everyone has this claim. No matter where they come from, they all have the same claim that they understand Islam the best. No, Islam is not an invitation to a group or a party. Islam is an invitation to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And when people understand that correctly, they will behave. They will love each other. They will sacrifice to one another. They will be peaceful. They will be diligent. They will be disciplined individuals. Because the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, or Ali to some type of group, and inside of Islam, or he called them to Islam. He called them to Islam. And what did they answer to? What did they believe in? Him, that he is the messenger of Allah, and that Allah is the only deity that existed, and they are the best example for us. You all know that. You've read multiple times. You've read the Quran, and you've seen that the Sahaba are the best example for us to follow in their following of Rasulullah. And you've read many ahadith about the virtue of the Sahaba. So that's what they were invited to, and that's what we should invite to. So then he said the call will be one. And he said that a single prostration to make sujood one time will be better than this world and everything that is in it. That means that people at the time of Isa ibn Maryam will love to pray and be in worship. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the young she-camels will be abandoned. And the young she-camels were like the very prized possession of the Arabs. He said that no one will even really care about them so much, because it's going to be so much wealth that you and I, inshallah, if we live to see Isa ibn Maryam, we will not be busy with work and going and chasing the dollar. We're going to be focused. There's going to be so much wealth that you don't have to busy yourself. What's the need? In fact, he said in many ahadith that when you go to give zakah, the person won't even be, there will be no one to accept the zakah, because everybody's rich. Jabir narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said that Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam, will descend as a ruler, and their ruler, the Mahdi, will say, "Come and lead us in prayer," and he will say, "You are leaders of one another." Abu Sa'id al-Khudri also narrated the Prophet ﷺ said, "He is one of us," meaning the Mahdi, the leader is one of us, meaning one of the Prophet's ummah and his family, and behind him Jesus will pray. And there are so many evidences. All of the scholars agree that Isa ibn Maryam is going to descend. Some, you find very small differences between some people, but however, this is even ancient, or you can say medieval scholars and modern day scholars, they've agreed that Isa is coming. So the people of the book, the Christians in particular, they believe about the descent of Jesus. And they were taught in their books that there's a Messiah of guidance and a Messiah of misguidance. So the Messiah of guidance is Jesus, and the Messiah of misguidance is Ad-Dajjal. So what will happen before Isa ibn Maryam descends? The Muslims will conquer a city called Constantinople, which is modern day called what? Istanbul. And the Muslims will not conquer it by swords and shields, but they will conquer it by tahleel and takbir. They will conquer it by saying La ilaha illallah and Allahu Akbar. You all know the story that the Dajjal will come to a salt marsh outside of Medina, like a hill made of mostly of salt outside of Medina. And there will be 3 quakes in Medina. And Medina will be rid of all of its munafiqeen, all of its hypocrites, and all of its disbelievers. And all of those people, the hypocrites and the disbelievers, will go out to the Dajjal and meet him. Then he will go towards Syria. And the other ahadith that we mentioned is that the angels are pointing him towards Syria with their swords and driving him towards there. He will go there, and the Dajjal will besiege a group of the Muslims on the top of one of the mountains of Syria. So there will be the Mahdi, and his followers will be besieged, meaning they will be cut off from outward help and assistance, and there will be bearing the difficulty of starvation and other things. Then one of the Muslims will say, Muslims, how long will you be like this? How long you want to go on this way? With the enemy of Allah encamping or camping around you like this. You have one of 2 things. Either Allah will cause you to die as martyrs, meaning you go out, you fight this Dajjal, and you'll die as martyrs, or He will cause you to prevail. So, what have you lost? You're either going to die trying to get rid of this filthy being, or you'll prevail. You'll have victory over him. So what have you lost, basically? Then they're going to take an oath that they're going to fight the Dajjal. They're going to say, okay, we're going to fight him. Khalas. We're convinced that we're just going to get up and fight him regardless. Then the darkness will overcome them suddenly, before Fajr. Like when the Fajr time, the Iqamah has begun, the other narrations say. And then it will be suddenly dark. And then they will see Jesus there. And that's when the Mahdi will say, lead us in prayer. So when it's suddenly dark and Jesus appears in front of them, he will have his shield ready. So he's coming prepared for battle to fight the Dajjal. So Isa ibn Maryam will say, choose one of 3 things. Either Allah will send an army from the sky to destroy the Dajjal, or He'll cause the earth to swallow him and his forces, or Allah will destroy him by your weapons. So they said, we'll choose a 3rd. We want ourselves to participate in the destruction of this fitna, the greatest fitna that the heavens and the earth has ever known, or the earth especially has ever known. Now, when the Dajjal when the Isa ibn Maryam sees the Dajjal and the Dajjal sees Isa, what will happen to the Dajjal? He will start dissolving or melting as salt and water, and then Isa ibn Maryam will catch up to him and strike him with his spear. And then he's going to show everybody, this is the blood of the Dajjal. He's done. Where will he descend, Isa ibn Maryam? Damascus. He's going to descend, he's going to come down in Damascus. And it said the white minaret on the east of Damascus. And Ibn Kathir, he said that minaret was rebuilt in 741 Hijri, which turns out to be about 1361 Christian era, or common era, 1361. That's when that was rebuilt, and it was rebuilt by the money of the Christians. The Christians were charged with rebuilding it because they burned it down. And of course, Ibn Kathir said he had visited that place, and he said most of the people in that area were Christians. Excuse me. What are the features of Jesus? Now, before I tell you what Jesus looked like, let me let you know. Race doesn't matter in Islam. he just say? Race doesn't matter in Islam. No, neither does skin color matter in Islam. Did you know that? Really? Did you know that? So if you all knew that, now what's wrong with most of the Muslims today? What's wrong with us? That, you have various people that don't like another person because of where they come from. Right? I might be lying. I might be misunderstanding the concept of what I've heard about how the Saudis don't like the Egyptians. And the Indians and Pakistanis don't like each other. Even the Muslims like it. There's some type of strife. And, maybe the Egyptians, I think we heard about the Egyptians, maybe in the Palestinians. Right? And how we treat one another. And then you got the immigrants against the indigenous black folk, Muslims. Because if Islam has nothing to do with race, then why have we made it a racial ordeal? Right? It's ignorance, definitely. It's ignorance. Now, so I've said that introduction. Now I'm going to say what Jesus looked like. He is a man of average height, neither tall nor short. His skin color is reddish white. His chest is broad. His hair is straight, as if his hair is dripping water, even though it's not wet at all. And the one who resembled him the most was Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, an Arab. An Arab man, and resembled him the most. Abu Hurairah narrated that Rasul said, one night on which I was taken on a night journey, I met Moses and I met Isa, Jesus. The Prophet described him by saying, he is of average height and reddish, as if he just came out of a bath. When you see him, you look like he just came out of a bath, meaning his hair is wavy and straight. Wavy and straight, curly type of hair. Ibn Abbas said, I saw Isa, Rasul said, I saw Isa and Musa, Jesus and Moses and Abraham. As for Jesus, he was reddish with wavy hair and a broad chest. So now you've heard about this, you're going to go home and do some push-ups, right? Inshallah, right? No problem. Go home and do some push-ups. Because you already imagine, Isa is like looking strong. Go home, do some push-ups, do some pull-ups. Get strong. There's no issue. In fact, you and I are more useful when we're strong than when we're weak. You and I are actually more useful with flat bellies than with ones that paja, the famous ones, that everyone seems to have for some reason. I don't know, it's an epidemic, right? We should, no problem, brother. Cut back on that bread and that sugar. Put a half a spoon of sugar in your tea instead of 2 spoons. Or a quarter of a spoon, no problem. Cut back on the sugar. It's killing you anyway. The bread is killing you anyway. It's killing me anyway. Cut back. And do a little exercise, inshallah. Maybe 30 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week. It's okay. If we and I are not doing exercise, then our health is going to decline anyway. Right? Eat more vegetables. And then you can convince your kids to eat more vegetables. You keep eating chips and stuff and snacks and cookies, and then you want your kids to hold back and wondering why they're gaining so much weight and not active. Come on, let's be real. Isa ibn Maryam has a broad chest, right? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, I remember when I was in the Hijr and Quraysh were asking me about my night journey, and they asked me things about Baytul Maqdis which I was not sure of. And then I became distressed in a way in which I was never distressed before. I became stressed out all of a sudden because they kept asking me questions, and he wants to prove his point that he went there. But how can he prove it if he can't remember what he saw initially? So then he said Allah raised up Baytul Maqdis for him in front of his eyes. He could see it. So every question they asked him, he told them exactly where, what was, and everything. Sallallahu alayhi. And then he said, I saw Moses standing praying. He was a well-built man. He was what? A well-built. You're talking about from the sunnah of the prophets, apparently. From the sunnah of the prophets is to be? Well-built and F word. Fit. Oh, fitness. There you go. Right? That's a beautiful word. From the sunnah of the prophets is fitness. Doesn't mean you got to go to, now you're going to go and get a $10 gym membership? Because Imam Ayub was encouraging fitness because of the sunnah of the Prophet. You don't have to get it's going to just keep taking money out of your bank account anyway. You might not even go. Go and do push-ups at home. No problem. Do some squats. Do some jumping jacks. Hey, come to the gym and play basketball. Right? Do something. Stay fit. May Allah preserve you or myself. If you do 20 push-ups a day, you're going to see results. I promise you. Do 20. And when you do the push-ups, suck your stomach in and do the push-ups. Just 20. And 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're going to see, mashallah, you're going to be happy that I gave you this advice. Inshallah. So then, of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he described Musa, he said he was as if he was one of the men of Shanu'ah, which are a very strong tribe. And he said, I saw Jesus, the son of Mary, standing and praying. And the closest one in resemblance to him, whom I've seen, is Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi. He said, I saw Ibrahim standing, praying, and the closest one in resemblance to him was your companion, meaning the closest one in resemblance to him is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the time for prayer came, and he said, I led them in prayer. And when we finished praying, a voice called out and said, Muhammad, this is Malik, the keeper of hell, the warden of hell. He said, greet him with salam. So then he said, I turned to Malik and he greeted me with salam first. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I had a dream last night at the Kaaba. I saw a dark man who was the most handsome dark man that you would ever see. And his hair was falling between his shoulders. He had a very wavy hair and his head was dripping with water. He was putting his hands on the shoulders of 2 men and going around the Kaaba. Then he said, I asked, who is this? They said, that is the Messiah. So then how you want to now join between reddish and dark, right? So reddish, white, but you're going to talk about a deep reddish white, right? Wallahu a'lam. I mean, if you're saying that if Rasulullah said he resembled Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, then you're talking about people who are standing out in the sun a lot, and most likely you're talking about a dark, like a reddish, deep red to white, but it's going to be having a deep color. Wallahu a'lam. If I sit in the sun too long, I look really red too. What are some of the things that Isa ibn Maryam, and of course, now what are some of the things that Isa ibn Maryam will do? Number 1, he will rule according to Islam. And the people will submit to Islamic Sharia, this word that is so evil somehow. It's evil word in the news. Sharia law. People will willingly submit to Sharia, to the Islamic legislation. And he will put an end to deviant religions because he will be teaching people and showing people and convincing people that all of this nonsense that they follow is nothing but nonsense. People will be convinced and they will follow him. He will consider the jizya not acceptable. He's not going to accept any tax from non-Muslims. Because when he explains to them this deen, they're going to believe in him. And the word of Allah will be supreme. And the Jews and the Christians themselves will be taught their false beliefs. They'll be taught their false beliefs. And they will accept Islam and Jesus as the Messiah. And the Dajjal will be killed. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the prophets are like different brothers who come from different mothers but one father. Their deen is one, that's the one father. But their legislation is different. Meaning each prophet came with a legislation, a sharia, that was appropriate for his time. We got the final cut. We got what? The final cut, last edition. So all of the prophets before us, would you consider them Jews or Christians, the prophets?
Muslims.
Absolutely, they were Muslims. They were Muslims. That's why the deen was one. Their deen was one. So what about that verse in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, which means, verily those who are considered Jews, right? Those who believe and those who are considered Jews, and the Christians and the Sabians, right? Whoever believed in Allah in the last day and did righteous deeds, they will have their reward with Allah and they will have no fear upon themselves nor will they grieve. That means that these people were called Jews, these people were called Christian, And they were called Sabians, but what were they in real life? In actuality? Muslims. Because they followed their prophet and they believed in Allah. But they still had these nicknames, so to speak. Right? So I want us to understand that does not mean that now, okay, now we're going to include everybody and we're all going to Jannah. No, absolutely not. If we fulfill the responsibility of believing in the prophet, as the prophet, and believing in Allah as the one and only deity, then it doesn't matter what you were nicknamed on the way down, then you're a Muslim. Of course, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, I'm the closest one of the people to Isa ibn Maryam because there was no prophet between me and him. He will descend, and when you see him, you will recognize him. A man of average height, reddish white, wearing 2 light yellow garments. As if his hair is dripping even though he is not wet. He will break the cross, kill the pigs, and abolish or cancel the jizya, which is the tax. And he will call the people to Islam. And Allah will put an end to all other religions during this time. During his time, he said also that Allah will destroy the Dajjal and the security will prevail throughout the earth until lions will graze with camels and tigers with cattle and wolves with sheep. And children will play with snakes, but they will not harm them, meaning the snakes will not harm the children. And he will stay, meaning Isa ibn Maryam, for 40 years, and then he will die, and the Muslims will pray janazah over him. And there was, as Abu Umama also narrated here, Abu Umama al-Bahili, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in this hadith that even a group of people will sit down to eat grapes, and those grapes will be enough for them. It will fill them up. No rice necessary. Right? And he said another group will sit down and eat a pomegranate, and they will be able to shade themselves from the sun out of the skin of the pomegranate, the rind of the pomegranate. So, and he explained in many other hadith, we don't have much time, but he explained that those fruits and vegetables will return back to how they were when Adam was around. So what made the fruits and vegetables that we have genetically modified before we have modern day GMOs, what made our food genetically modified?
Sins.
Our sins, good job. Our sins affected the earth. And the effect and the poison of sin is apparent at land, at sea, at sea and on land. It's apparent, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So when you sin, you affect the world with your sin. And when you do good deeds, you affect the world with your good deeds. So keep doing good deeds. And when you and I sin, we should say, Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. We ask Allah to forgive us, so that He can forgive us, subhanahu. Of course, Rasulullah said from the time of Isa ibn Maryam, you can even throw a seed on a smooth rock, and that rock will grow and sprout out a plant from it. And a man will pass by a lion, and the lion will not harm him. And that man will step on a snake, and the snake will not even harm him. And he also said, you will not bear grudges against one another, or envy one another, or hate one another. That means bearing grudges against one another, envying one another, and hating one another is evil. If it wasn't evil, then it would not have to be a special feature of Jesus' time. It's a special feature because it's necessary in every time. That we do not hate, have spite for, or grudges with one another. That we settle our differences and we give each other big hugs. And love each other for the sake of Allah. That is what's supposed to be. Of course, fighting will stop. There will be no fighting. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that the swords will be used as sickles. And sickles are could be these round blades like this, and people use them to harvest their crops. They strike the crops and they break maybe the corn stalks and so forth. That's what people are going to use swords for, because you're not going to be able to use it for fighting anymore, because fighting will stop. People won't fight. Khalas. Jesus' time is going to be peace on earth. What is the status of those who will be with Isa ibn Maryam? Those will be his companions. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said upon the authority of Thawban that there are two groups from my ummah whom Allah will protect from the fire. A group of them who will conquer India, and the group of them who will be with Isa ibn Maryam. So if your forefathers were amongst that group that conquered in India initially, then they are included. And inshallah, if we are included with the people of Isa ibn Maryam, then so be it. May Allah Jalla make it easy for us. Of course, why will Jesus descend and not others and so forth? Of course, he's going to descend to refute the Jewish claim that they killed him. That's one that's preferred by some scholars. As well as when Allah Jalla wa Ala told Isa ibn Maryam about the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he asked Allah to be amongst them. So by him coming and living under the Sharia, it is as if he is included in his ummah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Also, think about it like this. There is no one prophet that is as worshipped beside Allah than Jesus. And he is called the Son of God. And he is called God in the flesh. He is going to come to destroy the person that will have the most effect and convince the most people in the world that he is God. The Dajjal will convince thousands, if not millions of people on this earth that he is himself God on earth. So the one who they said was God on earth will come and defeat the one who claims to be God on earth. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? To prove that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that when we meet Isa, to give Isa his salam. He said, when you meet Isa ibn Maryam, convey to him my salam. Allahu Akbar. Isn't that cute? That Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Isa ibn Maryam, they're brothers. They love each other. So when you meet him, give him my salam. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, I hope that I live long enough to meet Isa ibn Maryam. I hope that I live long enough to meet Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus the son of Mary. If death comes to me sooner, whoever among you meets him, let him convey salams, my salams to him. Allah. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Allah. And Isa ibn Maryam will also make Hajj and Umrah. He will make Hajj and Umrah. That's going to be a decent Hajj and Umrah. That's going to be lit, as they say, right? It's going to be a lit Hajj or Umrah. Did you go to Isa? That's beautiful. Alhamdulillah, this is what we had to present. Of course, I apologize. I had to skim through it because of time. It's a lot of information in this regard. But we know that we believe in Jesus as he is. A servant of God. A messenger of God. He is not divine. And none of his miracles make him God. Only Allah is the one and only God. And there is no deity or God beside him whatsoever. That's what we believe. And when he comes back, he is going to prove to everybody that the Muslims were right all along. Right? Don't you sometimes feel like you feel like you're ostracized? You feel like you're targeted? You feel like you're left out? But guess what? Allah won't let that feeling be forever. He will not let that feeling of yours remain consistent to the day of judgment. He's going to reassure you and reassure your descendants that you are right. And if you happen to not be there, guess what? Allah will let you and I know that we were right all along on the day of judgment. You see? And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate and make easy for us to be guided. That we use the Quran al-Azim as a means of guidance. We ask that Allah help us to understand the position of the Quran so that we do not abandon it. And we do not leave it on our shelves. But we pick it up and we read it and we contemplate it. And if we cannot do it for the Arabic Quran, then we can at least have that relationship with the English or whatever language we prefer until we learn Arabic to understand it from its source. Excuse me? And indeed, anything that I have said that is correct, then it's only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not from me. And anything that I've said However, that is incorrect. I apologize for that. That is from me and that is from Satan. We ask that Allah Jalla wa Ala help us to learn and understand. We ask that Allah unite us upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim as He united us here in this masjid, and that He unites us indeed in paradise, in the highest place, as He united us here. Are there any questions before we close up? Yes, sir.
So when Isa alayhi salam comes and fights the Dajjal, that group of people, do you think that they'll be using swords or modern weaponry?
So these ahadith point to the fact that they will be using swords. So medieval weaponry, shields and swords and spears and what have you. I don't know how accurate this is, but you probably remember Einstein, who said, I don't know, I believe he said, if you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know what the people of World War III are going to use, but the people of World War IV are going to use sticks and stones. I don't know what the people of World War III are going to use, he said, but the people of World War IV will use sticks and stones. It's probably alluding to the fact that all of this nuclear power, people bombing each other to smithereens, and none of it will be existing and capable or being able to be reproduced, or people will hate it so much because of the destruction that it caused that they'll use sticks and stones. It was a statement. But definitely they will be using swords, shields, daggers, and so forth. Any more questions? Sisters, do you have any questions? Alhamdulillah. So we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to help us. Yes, you have one? You have one? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and to bring us and to unite us and to love us and help us to love Him. Sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Jazakumullahu khairan.